What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports, back again with another one. Big news in regards to the WBA lightweight champion, one of the faces of boxing. I think he right now is the face of boxing, if you ask my opinion. When you look at who did the biggest number in 2023, it was Tank, the A side, versus Ryan Garcia, the B side. That fight did 1.2 million pay-per-view buys, easily outselling, at that time, the face of boxing, Canelo Alvarez. And when he took on Jermell Charlo in a battle of undisputed, that fight did 650,000 pay-per-view buys. And I got some great news in regards to Tank, man. He will be taking on top 5 lightweights. And in my opinion, his toughest and stiffest test, he'll take on Frank the Ghost Martin in a battle of undefeateds. As Tank has a record of 29 wins, 0 losses, 27 KOs, a great knockout ratio. Great knockout ratio. 29 wins, 0 losses, 27 KOs. I know one of the fighters that avoided being knocked out was Isaac Pitbull Cruz. I'm trying to think about the other fighter that went the distance with Tank Davis, who again in 29 fights knocked out 27 opponents. He has a PhD in the one-hitter quitter, one of the most ferocious knockout artists in boxing today, and a guy that does great numbers at the gate, does great numbers on pay-per-view. And again, based on 2023, this is not a Lifetime Achievement Award. A lot of people want to still give Canelo Alvarez that accolade as being the face of boxing, being the biggest draw in boxing, but that's not the case. As he, again, we talking about U.S. pay-per-view buys. He put on, tied for the second biggest pay-per-view event of 2023, tied with Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Bud Crawford, which did 650,000 pay-per-view buys, just like Canelo versus Jermell Charlo. With all that being said, it's going to be a battle of southpaws. It's going to be Tank Davis' stiffest test. Frank Martin has underrated power. Frank Martin, in my opinion, is a poor man's Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker. Very difficult to hit. Very difficult style to look good against. Very difficult style to penetrate your offense against his defense. He's a very hard guy to catch with multiple punches. You might be able to catch him with a single shot, but catching him with combinations is going to be very difficult. Tank Davis was getting caught with combination punches when he took on Leo Santa Cruz. That fight took place at 130 pounds, but he was able to line up Leo Santa Cruz with a vicious knockout of that particular year KO when he caught him, trapped him in the corner of the ring, right in front of that turnbuckle. And he was able to put to sleep Leo Santa Cruz like he gave him some NyQuil. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But I'm very much looking forward to this fight, because this fight is going to be taking place in Houston, Texas. Houston, we have a problem. It's going to be going down in H-Town, my town, June 22nd in Toyota Center. We're going to celebrate Juneteenth, and we're going to celebrate in a big way that weekend, as it's going to be going down on 3 days after Juneteenth. Juneteenth's going to be on the 19th. It'll be on that Wednesday. The fight will take place on the 22nd, that Saturday. The whole weekend will be a celebration of Juneteenth, which our current president, Joe Biden, made a national holiday, and it's going to be a great matchup. And yours truly will be in attendance for this mega matchup. We also will have the Mexican Mike Tyson. Now that's Isaac Pitbull Cruz. I'm about to tell you that he was fighting, but that's not the case. He just got through fighting this past week. But we got the Mexican Monster, a name that was given to him by Iron Mike Tyson, David Benavidez. He'll be the co-main event, taking on former light heavyweight champion Alexander Gasek in a very interesting matchup. as Benavidez will be making his debut in the light heavyweight division. He was the #1 contender for Canelo Alvarez belts at 168, but Canelo Alvarez wants no smoke. He wants no problems with David Benavidez. He feels at this point of his career he can pick and choose who he's going to fight, and David Benavidez is not part of the Canelo Alvarez's plan, not now and not anytime in the future. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Great matchup, great night of boxing. Now, I've heard some people kind of go in on David Benavidez, aka the Mexican Monster, for choosing Alexander Gastrik, but he's trying to put himself in position to fight for undisputed in the light heavyweight division, as the two current champions in that division will be squaring off June 1st in Saudi Arabia. WBA light heavyweight champion in Canelo Alvarez's conqueror, Dimitri Bivol, will be taking on WBC, IBF, and WBO light heavyweight champion Arthur Beterbiev, in a fight that's for the hardcore boxing fans, and it's a fight that, if it wasn't for Al Sheikh, the guy with the deep pockets in Saudi Arabia, putting on big events 6 to 8 times a year, putting up the bag for this fight to go down, the fight probably wouldn't go down, because both fighters are one of the top fighters in boxing, but neither fighter has a big fan base. Neither fighter is a big attraction in boxing, but both fighters have done a lot of great things inside their square circles, have a lot of accomplishments. And when you look at the legacy aspect of each fighter, they're rated very high. But again, legacy sometimes don't translate into being an attraction. So I'm just glad that Al Sheikh put up the bag for this matchup June 1st. And the winner of that fight will be in prime position to take on the Mexican Monster, if he's successful, June 22nd versus Alexander Gastrik, whose only loss was to Arthur Beterbiev in a fight that he was winning before he got stopped in the 10th round. People tend to forget that when they kind of shitting on this opponent for David Benavidez. This guy's got one loss to arguably the best guy at 175. He got stopped in the 10th round. He was ahead on at least 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards, and he just succumbed to the power and determination of Arthur Beterbiev. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Now, when we get to the week of the matchup, I will break down both fights, give you my analysis, and give you my prediction on David Benavidez versus Alexander Gastrik, and Tank Davis versus Frank Martin. But a quick thumbnail sketch on each matchup. Like I said, I think Gervonta Tank Davis is going to have to start this fight out faster than he normally does. He kind of, in some fights, give away rounds trying to figure out his opponents, trying to figure out what his opponents bringing to the table, and sometimes can lead to him being behind in fights, a la Leo Santa Cruz, a la Mario Barrios. He can't afford to do that with a guy that's very good defensively. If he get out in front of you early in the fight, he could kind of hold you off for 12 rounds and possibly get a decision win. So Tank Davis definitely gonna have to get off to a faster start, and I think he's gonna have to use his jab to the body, close distance, use the advantage that he have against Frank Martin, being the more powerful puncher. Both guys on a high level skill wise, but I think the difference between Frank Martin, who's an underrated puncher, and Tank Davis, who's pound for pound, in my opinion, the best puncher in boxing, I think that's going to be what's going to pay dividends for Tank Davis in this particular matchup. But it's going to be a very interesting fight, man. I've never seen Tank Davis fight this style before, so it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out. As far as the Mexican Monster, David Benavidez, taking on Alexander Gastrik, who has that classic European style that's very fundamentally sound, very basic style, but very effective style, because there's no lows in that style. That style is a very consistent style, but that style, in my opinion, has a ceiling. And I think David Benavidez, being the more stronger fighter, I think he's going to actually be stronger at 175 than he was at 168. He was strong at 168. He was a guy that made his opponents succumb to his will. I think the power advantage would be for David Benavidez. I think he's just a more explosive fighter. I think he brings a little bit more tools to this fight than Gastrik's going to bring. He has more tools in the toolbox, and I think that will be what carries the day for David Benavidez. I will break down these two fights in depth more and more as we get close to the fight, the week of the fight, but that's just my thumbnail sketch of these two epic matchups. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook Gerard Briscoe. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.